prophets were numerous. The first of them was Adam.
In Iraq, the people of Babylon, they were enjoying very luxurious life. Babylon, and also you'll find it even in English as Babel. Babil, it is called Babel. Babylon is the Greek version of it. They were lounging in shades of enjoyment that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala gave them. But they were at the same time stumbling in the depths of darkness because they had chiseled with their own hands idols and persisted on worshiping them. Idol worshippers, star worshippers, and those people had an unjust tyrant named Nimrod ibn Canaan ibn Cush. Nimrod, son of Canaan, son of Cush. And he was one of the kings of the earth. One of the kings of the earth, meaning he was one of those whom Allah gave him the dominion among the human beings. There were not many of those. His kingdom was from the east to the west. When he saw what he had, the power that he had, the enjoyments that he had, and when he saw that his people were profoundly ignorant and corrupt, he took advantage of his circumstances and he claimed godhood for himself, and he called his people to worship him. So that's a third thing to add. There were people who worship idols, there were people who worship stars, and there were people who worship this man. When the time drew near, the astronomers came to Nimrod. They said to him, "We find in our knowledge that a boy shall be born in this town of yours in such and such month and such year. And he is called Ibrahim. He will disperse your religion and he will break your idols." So then when that year came, that year that was described to him by those astrologers, did I say astronomers the first time? Astrologers, the ones who read the stars. Then Nimrod, he went around locking up all of the pregnant women. But he missed the wife of Azar, who was Terah, because they did not know that she was pregnant. Because she was a young woman and no one knew of the baby that she had in her belly. So what did this tyrant do? If any woman gave birth to a boy in that month, in that year, he would have it slaughtered. So what did Ibrahim's mother do, alayhi salatu wassalam, when she was overtaken by contractions? She went out at night to a cave that was close to her, and she gave birth to Ibrahim in that cave, alayhi salatu wassalam. And she fixed him up like what would be done for a newborn baby. But she had to leave him there in the cave. And she closed the mouth of the cave and went back home. And she would come back and visit him to see how he is and what did he do. And lo and behold, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala accelerated his growth, alayhi salatu wassalam. This newborn in one day grew so that it was like he was 1 month old. And that's how he got big fast. She would come and find him alive, sucking on his thumb. Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala made him get sustenance from his thumb. How long did Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam stay in that cave? 15 months. And he came out and he grew and he got older. And Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala selected him to carry his message. He is Ibrahim, son of Tarach or Tarah. Came with a kha sometimes, came with a ha sometimes. In English, Terah, T-E-R-A-H, Terah, the father of Abraham alayhi salatu wasalam. And he has another name which is Azar. And he is the son of Nahor, in English, Nair, N-A-H-O-R, the son of Serug, S-E-R-U-G, the son of Ilghu, Ryu, son of Falag, Paleg, P-A-L-E-G, the son of Ghabir, that's Eber, son of Shalach, perhaps they pronounce it Salah, S-A-L-A-H, son of Canaan, son of Irfakhshad, Arphaxad, son of Sam, son of Noah, alayhi salatu wassalam. And there was no prophet between Abraham and Noah except for Hud and Salih. He is the second greatest messenger of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. So Prophet Ibrahim has an extremely lofty status. Lofty means high. A very high status, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he met Prophet Ibrahim on the night of Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, he described him and he said, I never saw someone who looked so much like me. Just like all of the prophets, he was born as a Muslim, and in his childhood he believed in the monotheism. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ رُشْدَهُ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَكُنَّا بِهِ عَالِمِينَ. He was guided since he was a boy. ما كان إبراهيم يهوديا ولا نصرانيا ولكن كان حنيفا مسلما وما كان من المشركين. Abraham was not a Jew, nor was he a Christian. Rather, he was a Muslim and he was not a pagan. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was loaded with faith. And like all prophets, he performed miracles. وَكَذَلِكَ نُرِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ مَلَكُوتَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَلِيَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُوقِنِينَ. Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala showed Prophet Ibrahim the dominion of the heavens and earth. As it was reported from Mujahid, that Allah Ta'ala split the 7 heavens for Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam and enabled his vision to reach the Arsh. So he saw all the way up to the Arsh, and like that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala showed him the dominion of heavens and earth. وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّ أَرِنِي كَيْفَ تُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى. And when Abraham said, "Oh my Lord, show me how you revive the dead." قال أولم تؤمن. Allah revealed to him, "Do you not believe?" قال بلى ولكن ليطمئن قلبي. So he said, "Indeed I do believe. However, I would like to see that, so that my heart can be increased in faith, so that I would be even more sure." قال فخذ أربعة من الطير فصرهن إليك ثم اجعل على كل جبل منهن جزءا ثم ادعهن يأتينك سعيا واعلم أن الله عزيز حكيم. O Abraham, take 4 birds, 4 different types of birds, and then slaughter them and dissect them. Then distribute their pieces on the mountain tops. Then, after you have distributed their pieces, stand in one central location and call them, and they shall come back to you. And so he did that. He slaughtered those birds and he chopped them into pieces. And he mixed their parts up and he distributed them. And then he went to one spot and then he called them. And then he saw their pieces start to come. And he could see the blood going to the body that it's supposed to go to. And all the pieces coming back to their proper body parts. And the whole time he kept the heads in his hand. And those birds came back together again, completely except for the head, and they came to him wanting their heads. Then he would offer a bird a head that was not its own head, and it would refuse. Then he would offer it its own head, and that head would reattach. And like that, he saw Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala revive the dead for him. And Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam, he used to call his father to believe. And his father was the idol maker. And he used to worship the idols, and he used to sell the idols to the people so that they would worship them. إذ قال لأبيه يا أبت لم تعبد ما لا يسمع ولا يبصر ولا يغني عنك شيئا. When he said to his father, "Oh my father, why do you worship what does not hear and does not see and shall not do anything for you?" يا أبت إني قد جاءني من العلم ما لم يأتك فاتبعني أهدك صراطا سويا. Oh my father, surely there has come to me knowledge that has not come to you. I have received the revelation. Allah made me a prophet, so follow me and I will guide you to a straight path. Ya abati la ta'budi shaytan. Oh my father, do not worship the devil. Inna shaytana kana lirrahmani asiya. Surely the devil has been disobedient to God. يا أبت إني أخاف أن يمسك عذاب من الرحمن فتكون للشيطان وليا. Oh my father, surely I fear that you will be touched by a torture from Ar-Rahman, the merciful one, قال أراغب أنت عن آلهتي يا إبراهيم. Oh, Abraham, you don't like my gods? لئن لم تنته لأرجمنك. If you don't stop, I will stone you. وَاهْجُرْنِي مَلِيًّا. Leave me alone. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, قَالَ سَلَامٌ عَلَيْكَ. Peace be upon you, Father. I will not harm you. سَأَسْتَغْفِرُ لَكَ رَبِّي. I will ask my Lord to forgive you by guiding you to Islam. But when Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam knew that his father would not embrace Islam, he left him alone and he directed his efforts elsewhere. So Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he called his people to abandon star worship and idol worship. فَلَمَّا جَنَّ عَلَيْهِ اللَّيْلُ رَأَى كَوْكَبًا. When the night fell upon him, he saw a star. قَالَ هَذَا رَبِّي. He said, this is my Lord. He was asking a question to object. He was saying, this is not my Lord. This is not suitable to be God. This does not deserve my worship. That's what he was saying to his people. He was explaining to them. فَلَمَّا أَفَلَ قَالَ لَا أُحِبُّ الْآفِلِينَ. Then, when the star set, he told them, I do not love the things that set. I do not worship things that come and go. I do not worship what changes. Whatever changes is a creation. And whatever is a creation is in need of the one who created it. فَلَمَّا رَأَى الْقَمَرَ بَازِغًا قَالَ هَذَا رَبِّي. Then, when he saw the moon rising, he said, this is my Lord? He's saying, this is not my Lord. You worship the moon, you worship the stars. The stars aren't even as nice as the moon, and the moon does not deserve worship. فَلَمَّا أَفَلَ قَالَ لَئِن لَّمْ يَهْدِنِي رَبِّي لَأَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الضَّالِّينَ. Then when the moon set, he said, if my Lord didn't guide me, I would be one of those misguided people. فَلَمَّا رَأَى الشَّمْسَ بَازِغَةً قَالَ هَذَا رَبِّي. هَذَا أَكْبَرُ. And then when the sun rose, he said, this is my Lord. This is even bigger. You worship a body. You worship something that can be compared to something else. فَلَمَّا أَفَلَتْ قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ إِنِّي بَرِيءٌ مِّمَّا تُشْرِكُونَ. And then when the sun set and his people were not understanding what he was saying to them, so he said to them, I have nothing to do with your paganism. And besides those star worshippers, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam debated with the idol worshippers. إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ وَقَوْمِهِ مَا هَذِهِ التَّمَاثِيلُ الَّتِي أَنْتُمْ لَهَا عَاكِفُونَ. When Abraham said to his father and his people, what are these statues that you people would not stop worshiping? He was objecting to them. He wasn't asking them to explain their blasphemy to him. قالوا وجدنا آباءنا لها عابدين. They said, we found our fathers worshiping beads. قال لقد كنتم أنتم وآباؤكم في ضلال مبين. He said, you and your fathers of old are upon misguidance. قالوا أجئتنا بالحق أم أنت من اللاعبين. said, are you serious? Are you coming to us with the truth, or are you playing? قال بل ربكم رب السماوات والأرض الذي فطرهن وأنا على ذلكم من الشاهدين. He said, in fact, your Lord is the Lord of heavens and earth, the one who created all of them. He said, and I am a witness to that. I testify to that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He is your Lord and my Lord and the Lord of everything. قالوا نعبد أصناما فنظل لها عاكفين. They said, we worship idols and we will worship them all day. قال هل يسمعونكم إذ تدعون. He said, do these idols hear you when you call? أو ينفعونكم أو يضرون. Or do they benefit you, or do they create any harm? قالوا بل وجدنا آباءنا كذلك يفعلون. They said, no, we don't worship them for that. We know that they don't hear or benefit us or harm us. We worship them because we found our fathers doing that. قال أفرأيتم ما كنتم تعبدون. He told them, think about what you are worshiping. You make something, you fashion something with your own hand, and then you worship something that you fashion with your own hand? How do you worship something that you made instead of worshiping the one who made you? قال أتعبدون ما تنحتون. You worship what you carve. والله خلقكم وما تعملون. Allah is the one who created you and everything that you do. أنتم وآباؤكم الأقدمون. You and your fathers of old. فإنهم عدو لي إلا رب العالمين. Those idols are my enemies. I only worship the Lord of the worlds. Then when Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam saw that they did not offer any argumentation, they had no evidence, and they still refused to change, he decided that he would do something to their idols so that that would be evidence for the invalidity of what they worship. And these people, they had what they considered a holiday, and when the time for their Eid came, they wanted to go out of the city to the place where they celebrate. And they even invited Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. So when they invited him, فَنَظَرَ نَظْرَةً فِي النُّجُومِ. He looked into the stars. فَقَالَ إِنِّي سَقِيمٌ. And he said, I am sick. He could have meant by that, what you people do makes me sick. I will not participate. And also he could have meant by that, I will be sick. I will be sick. He told them something because he had other plans, alayhi salatu wassalam. فَتَوَلَّوْا عَنْهُ مُدْبِرِينَ. So they turned and left him. وَتَاللَّهِ لَأَكِيدَنَّ أَصْنَامَكُمْ بَعْدَ أَن تُوَلُّوا مُدْبِرِينَ. He said, I swear to God, I will do something to your idols after you go away. And it was said that he said it in such a way that some people heard him. So then he went to their temple, and he found himself in a foyer, or like a courtyard, in front of the door of their temple. And there was a big idol. And besides this big idol, there were small idols lined up side by side. And the people had put food for these idols. When he looked at this food in front of the idols that his people put to worship these things, he saw the incredible stupidity of their intellects. And then he addressed those idols. Ala ta'kulun, why don't you eat? And then when the idols did not answer him, he said, Ma lakum la tantiqun, what's wrong with you? You don't speak? فراغ عليهم ضربا باليمين. And then he commenced to smashing those idols. He had in his right hand an axe, and he took to descending that axe down upon those idols, breaking them into pieces. He left them just rubble, except for the biggest one. He left the biggest one and he hung the axe around the neck of the biggest one, so that when they came back, it would appear to them that these idols cannot speak, and they cannot think, and they cannot defend themselves from any harm. And by that, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam would establish the evidence against them for worshiping things without any evidence to do so. So then when his people came back, they couldn't believe it. They were very offended. That how could someone do something like this? قالوا من فعل هذا بآلهتنا إنه لمن الظالمين. They said, who did this to our gods? He is so wrong. قالوا سمعنا فتى يذكرهم يقال له إبراهيم. They said, we heard a young man speaking against our idols. A young man who insults our idols and dispraises them and makes fun of them. He's the one that we think is the culprit. He's called Abraham. And this news reached the king of the lands. And it reached the noble ones, like the elite figures in the society. قالوا فأتوا به على أعين الناس لعلهم يشهدون. They said, bring him. Let all of the people bear witness. Perhaps among the people there's someone who will testify against him. So they all agreed to go and get Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. And they gathered all of the people, so that the people can testify against him and so that they could hear what he had to say. But gathering all of the people in that one place, that's exactly what Prophet Ibrahim wanted alayhi salatu wassalam, so that he could establish the evidence against them in front of everyone. So the people gathered and they were enraged. All of them wanted revenge on Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, the Prophet of Allah, the one who belittled their idols. So they came with Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam to this angry crowd of disbelievers, and they brought him before their tyrant king. قالوا أأنت فعلت هذا بآلهتنا يا إبراهيم. They said, are you the one who did this to our gods, Abraham? قال بل فعله كبيرهم هذا فاسألوهم إن كانوا ينطقون. If they can speak, then this biggest one did it. So ask them. They huddled up, talked to each other, and they thought about it. فرجعوا إلى أنفسهم فقالوا إنكم أنتم الظالمون. And they confessed to the truth amongst themselves, and they said, he's right. He's not the unjust one here. We're worshiping statues. So they blamed themselves, and they also blamed themselves for not having guards at their temple. But then ثم نكسوا على رؤوسهم. They retracted that. Qad you call snapped out of it, and they went back at Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam to argue with him, and they said, لَقَدْ عَلِمْتَ مَا هَؤُلَاءِ يَنْطِقُونَ. They said, you know these things can't speak. Why are you telling us to ask them? And they got on his case. Alayhi salatu wassalam. The Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam said to them, قال أفتعبدون من دون الله ما لا ينفعكم شيئا ولا يضركم. He said, you worship instead of Allah something that doesn't benefit you and it doesn't harm you, meaning it can't create anything. أُفٍّ لَكُمْ وَلِمَا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. He said, uff to you and uff to what you worship instead of Allah. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Don't you use your minds? Don't you have intellect? He was just refuting them with mental evidence, with rational arguments, and they had no rebuttal. So their tyrant king Nimrod, he started objecting to Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam, and he scolded him for calling people to the religion of Islam and for claiming that Allah is the one and only God. He said to Prophet Ibrahim, well, what is your Lord? What do you worship? So Prophet Ibrahim said, Rabbi alladhi yuhyi wa yumeet. My Lord, He is the one who gives life to the living and makes the living die. Qala ana uhyi wa umeet. He said, I give life and I make the living die. Then he brought two men from his dungeons and he killed one and he set one free. He said, you see, I'm God. قال إبراهيم فإن الله يأتي بالشمس من المشرق فأت بها من المغرب. Ibrahim said, alayhi salatu wassalam, Allah makes the sun come from the east. Bring it from the west. فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرُ. And then that one who blasphemed was dumbfounded, shocked. He didn't know what to say. So he refuted that arrogant tyrant king in front of all the people. He refuted them. So those sore losers, what did they do? They said, burn him alive. قالوا حرقوه وانصروا آلهتكم إن كنتم فاعلين. Burn him alive and support your idols, support your gods if you're going to do anything. So they all agreed, they all hated him all together, and they said, we're going to take care of this guy. So they all collectively as a community started gathering all the firewood they could. And in their claim, they were going to make burning him alive a sacrifice for their gods. So they went to a big, great ditch and they made a landfill of firewood. So they spent days just amassing fuel for a big fire. It was such a community event that a woman among them, if she was sick, she would say, had I been healthy, I swear, I make a vow that I would contribute firewood for the burning of Abraham. And then they set it ablaze, and the flames started roaring and towering, and the sparks coming out of it were very big. There was not a fire seen like it. The great inferno. Allah Ta'ala, He called that fire in the Quran Jahim. Flames atop of flames. As flames over flames. That fire was so big and so hot that they weren't even able to get close to the fire to throw Prophet Ibrahim into it, alayhi salatu wassalam. And upon that, they came up with the invention called the catapult. So they constructed the catapult, and it was said that Iblis himself came in the form of a man and taught those people how to make the catapult so that they could shoot Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam into the fire. And it was said that it was not Iblis, but it was a human being. They tied Prophet Ibrahim up alayhi salatu wassalam, and the entire time he was relying on his Lord. And then they put him into the pan, tied up, and then they shot him from the catapult. And when he was launched, he said, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah is enough for me, and He is the best one to rely upon. And it was said that while he was in midair, the angel came to him and said to him, do you need anything? So Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam said, from you, I do not. And he relied on his Lord, and he went into the fire, and Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala made that fire calm and peaceful on Prophet Ibrahim. قلنا يا نار كوني بردا وسلاما على إبراهيم. Allah commanded the fire, be cool and peaceful on Abraham. The Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam, he went into that fire, that very powerful, intense fire. Allah made it cool on Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. It did not burn him, and it did not burn his clothing. It only burned the ropes that tied him, and he stayed in there. When the fire died down and the smoke cleared, they found Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam safe and sound, unscathed. وَأَرَادُوا بِهِ كَيْدًا فَجَعَلْنَاهُمُ الْأَخْسَرِينَ. They wanted to do him bad, but Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala made them the losers.
Zakaria,